I am the chief data scientist for a company called Data Science Dojo. Some of you may have heard of that company's name. We are probably one of the top players when it comes to corporate data science, AI, machine learning, analytics, call it anything. In that training space, we are one of the global players in that space. We also provide professional services. So that's the company's background. My own background, I've been doing data science before it was called data science, or maybe call it AI, call it machine learning, call it pattern recognition, right? So just name it anything. So I've been doing this for some time. I have a PhD in computer science with a focus on machine learning. And right after I finished my PhD, I started at Microsoft, spent 6 years in online services. And interestingly enough, most of my learning actually did not happen during my PhD, but during work, right? So and that's the beauty of when you work on terabytes and terabytes of data, you actually learn a lot. I mean, you put those theoretical concepts in real world in place. And after that, I started Data Science Dojo. So the topic today is somewhat aligned with the overall theme of this workshop or conference. We will talk about AI for social good. So that's going to be the general idea. Okay, so let's get started, right? So if you look at this, AI is already a part of our daily lives. If you look at this, if I go to Google and start searching for runny nose, itchy eyes, or for any symptoms, right, I can actually pretty much get a fairly good idea of what may be going on with me or with my loved one. How does it work, right? So this has been happening for more than 20 years now, right? So we had search engines. Yahoo was one of the earliest ones, earliest modern search engines. Alta Vista was there, but Yahoo was one of the earliest modern search engines. Google came in and took over, right? But we can see all of this AI magic and has been happening around us for quite some time. We are on social media, right? So Twitter, who to follow, what are the related tweets, or Facebook, who might be your friend, or LinkedIn, recommended jobs, and who should you connect with, right? All of this, it is part of our daily lives, right? Facebook can actually recognize people in pictures, right? So there's a picture, and even on my iPhone, people can recognize my family members even without me having to tag them, right? So this has been happening all this time. But if you look at this, how is data and analytics, or call it AI, how is it being used? Typically, we are using all of these technologies, all of these cool techniques for suggesting ads or recommending videos and forecasting demand for something and predicting churn. And I would like to put it this way, right? So the brightest minds of our generation, they are making people click on videos and ads. I mean, that's what is happening. Pretty much whatever makes money, right? So that's where it is. The question that I would like to ask everyone, please use the chat. The chat is in front of me, right? So tell me, how about making the world a better place? Do you think there can be an application in criminal justice system? And what would be that application? Or education? And what would be that application? Or personalized care, or public safety, or sustainability and transportation and urban planning? Can anyone think of any of those applications? Would be nice. I see new here. Okay, how can you use data science to avoid annoying advertisements, right? You can, but I think the discussion may be beyond the scope. Okay, I am going to be waiting for, and I will have to actually filter the questions. I will keep the questions directly related to the slide. I think we are short of time. Um, um, uh, any applications that anyone can think of out of these? It would be nice if it comes from the audience. Okay, so let's talk about this then. do you think that we can predict that a student is going to fail in an exam? And we try to help them, or a student is, there are weak areas or in the curriculum that the student does not understand, and we try to mitigate that. Or perhaps in the criminal justice system, preventing crime or public safety. Um, can we plan cities better? Can we plan traffic better? Can there be sustainability um, uh, type applications? Let's look at some of the applications then, if we do not have any. Think about this. Every year, 48 million people, they suffer from foodborne illnesses. This is 1 in 6 resident of the United States, and there is a huge billions of dollars of impact there. 3,000 people die every year because of foodborne illnesses. So there was this app that was developed at University of Rochester that used AI and natural language processing to analyze tweets. When you collect tweets from Twitter, you get geotagging where the tweet was from, what was the content of the tweet, and based on that, they tried to narrow down restaurants that may be in violation of some health and restaurant safety standards. And according to the article that I was reading, that the successful citation rate went up from 9% to 15%. So citation rate would mean I'm assuming a lot of population not from the US, right? So right now attendees are not from the US. So citation rate would be is that I'm going in inspecting a restaurant, and if the restaurant meets the standards, they won't get a citation, and if they do not meet the standard, they are going to get a ticket or a citation, or I think in India we might be calling it challan or something, right? So they will have to pay a fine. So it's you're improving the public health situation using social media, listening to social media. Then the next application, think about this. According to McKinsey, in healthcare, there is a lot of opportunities, starting from right living, right? So if you analyze, a lot of it is possible. My lifestyle, my genetics, my origin, my ethnicity, my weight, any blood test, and based on that, based on AI, one can be recommended what is the right way to prevent a disease. As a South Asian, I am more, there is a genetic predisposition, right? So I'm likely to get cardiac disease, right? So what can be done to prevent that from happening? Then right care. Once you are in the hospital, what is the best way to take care of a patient? And then you keep going. I mean, matching you to the right provider, or the providing the right value, and accelerating discovery and R&D. I mean, use bioinformatics, biotechnology, all of that, right? So there is, and these numbers are in billions, right, with a B. This is huge opportunity when you talk about AI in healthcare, and all of this I consider that social good. And this is the best part of it, where you are. It's both a commercial application and also an application that will improve the quality of life for people. Then it is possible. I was a while back. I was attending actually really a while back, maybe about 10 years ago. I was listening to a pitch of a startup at a Stanford accelerator. So I was there, and they were saying that. I don't know what number was it, but a big number, like 65% of the doctors, they have admitted to using Google at work, right? So, and they actually look for symptoms, right? So, and if you look at this, a doctor is actually a body of knowledge, right? So I have practiced, and medical textbooks, I have read through them, and I have two of my sisters, they are medical doctors. So I've seen them memorizing stuff from their like huge textbooks, right? So what are doctors? Doctors are really body of knowledge, right? So they collect a lot of data, and they have memorized a lot of things, and then over time they experience things. So what if we have a clinical decision support system? What if we have a system that can actually look at doctor's symptoms, sorry, the patient symptoms. I'm trying to see. I think there were questions that I could not see. Okay, thank you for those who provided input. I did not realize that people were responding. Okay, so um, so this clinical support system, it did not replace a doctor. So in many cases, AI is not going to replace a doctor. It is just, did you forget this? So you're recommending me a medication, but I also have some allergy with that kind of medication. So this support system, it is going to, it ended up reducing the error, and overall cost of care, it improved. Okay. Um, then precision agriculture. There's this Aerobotics is a South African startup. They use drones and satellite images to monitor crops, and then they estimate yield. And this is not some science fiction, by the way, right? So we have clients who are actually estimating yield based on imagery, right? So it is possible, has been possible, and with the more modern technology, the compute and storage and drones becoming more mainstream, it is possible. So now think about this, that you can adjust the amount and then you can have better yield, and you're minimizing the waste of farming. And unfortunately, I mean, we can keep going, and 30 minutes is the allocated time that we have. It's not actually a whole lot of time to go through all the applications. The intent here is to have everyone start to think about what are the possibilities. What can you do with data? What can you do with AI or machine learning or analytics? Yes, so anonymous, by looking at current vaccination data, can we predict when world will become COVID free? um, it's a fairly complicated problem, right? One thing that we have to understand is, and I would like to clarify, is that when you are doing AI, um, you cannot discount the importance of domain knowledge, right? So it is not that we'll throw all the data at AI or our machine learning, and they will just tell us, okay, when the world will be COVID free, because there are many factors that are not in our control. Um, is the COVID virus, is it going to mutate, and are there going to be other mutations that are not going to be handled by current vaccination? We do not know until and unless some epidemiologist who understands how they mutate and what is the probability or what is the likelihood of that the virus mutating into something that is manageable or something that is not manageable. And there is a lot of other factors, right? So when you say when world will become COVID free, in some parts of the world, compliance is, some people, there is vaccine hesitancy, so people don't want to get vaccinated. So how are we going to model that? So the short answer is yes, and the long answer is that it is actually fairly complicated. In theory, it can be done. In practice, well, it depends upon a lot of factors. So yeah, I would say yes, it can be done, given we know all the variables that are involved um, in um, in the world becoming COVID free. I hope that makes sense. So so the question that I will ask is, can AI go wrong, right? So there's tremendous potential, but there can be intentional or unintentional misuse of AI. Can there be bias, manipulation, breach of privacy, and all of that, right? So the problems in AI, they can happen at different stages while you're collecting data or preparing data or modeling data or interpreting the data, right? So it can happen in any of these stages. You you went and only collected data about certain ethnicity or certain age group or certain gender, or maybe in preparation you removed certain representation. So there, all of that can happen. The bias can happen in any of the stages, right? So let's actually go and look at this, right? So there was this um, there was a crime prevention initiative by NYPD, New York Police Department. It was called Stop and Frisk. And it was ruled unconstitutional, even though they were using data, but it ended up targeting only certain ethnicities. So you have a crime prediction system, but if the historically the data is biased, the data is skewed towards certain ethnicities, so it was ruled unconstitutional, and it was the project, this whole initiative, it ended. Okay. Then actually, let me go to the last one just to save time. How many of you know actually this Facebook experiment where they were manipulating emotions? Does anyone know about that? Has anyone heard of this experiment ever? Anyone? Okay. What Facebook was doing was um, they decided, when I go to Facebook, in my feed, I cannot see everything that my friends are posting, but I can get only selected posts. And Facebook decided they will select what they call a control group and a treatment group, and the one group will get only sort of positive and upbeat content from their friends, and some people, they will be getting somewhat negative or not so exciting content from their friends. And they concluded at the end that people who were shown some negative content versus the positive content, they in turn acted in a way that was consistent with the content that was shown to them. How many of you think this was cool? Yeah, I mean, as a technologist, this was way cool for me, right? But as a human, I think this means that we are giving control to these social media outlets, and we are giving them full control, and they can manipulate our emotion, which is very scary as a society, right? So if you have heard of Cambridge Analytica, if you've heard of um, other Facebook bad PR situations, you probably know how it can be used for manipulating as much as the election results, right? So it can go wrong in many ways. Okay. Okay, I'm done. I rushed through this and I managed to. Sanjay, I hope I was on time.
Yes, you are. Absolutely. What
Okay.
an amazing, interactive session, I would say. So thank you so much, Raja. So
Thank you.
there was one, I know you've been answering all these questions throughout. That's amazing. There was another question. Do you have any courses for high school students?
Interestingly, we want to, but of course, I mean, we are. Yeah, it never happened, but we have had high school students. We have had so far in the last few years, we have had like 7 or 8 high school students that we taught, and they did well, by the way. So yes, we our regular training is a good high school student can actually attend our regular boot camp. So it is possible, but
Fantastic.
nothing dedicated to and exclusively for high school students.
Okay, cool. I will ask you last question, then you can answer any more questions in the chat window. So I think Kritika asked about the predictive diagnostic tools for healthcare.
Predictive diagnostic tools for healthcare. Can you elaborate what about
Yeah, so I
them?
think I think the question is more about, what how can we use AI for, diagnose for basically more diagnosing something in the healthcare business as a predictive function.
Mhm. I mean, think of it just like you recommend videos. Think about this. If I am, I watch cricket, and I also watch Bollywood, and I also a specific actor in Bollywood and a specific player, and uh, mm, based on my preferences, I can be recommended more content, right? Similarly, if the companies know, or if my doctor knows my lifestyle, my genetics, and my age, and other lifestyle choices, my blood group, and my other my tissue sample from my body, and anything, right? So Of course, I mean, think of this as no different than a video recommendation problem or a song recommendation problem or music recommendation problem on Spotify or Pandora, right? So it is actually the same problem, but a different manifestation of a similar problem. So it should be possible for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Raja.
Thank you, everyone.